stars, is Kate Middleton being treated like she's an outsider to the royal family? Check what the Daily Mail has to say about the vacation plans of the royal family. The Princess of Wales is set to join the royal family, not go with William and her kids. She is set to join the royal family at Balmoral this month in what will be her longest journey since her cancer diagnosis, the Mail on Sunday revealed. Prince William and Kate have decamped to the 50,000-acre estate in the Scottish Highlands each summer since their wedding in 2011, usually just for a long weekend. But some insiders feared this year could be different due to the princess's health. Is it due to the princess's health, or does Prince William have custody of the children for the summer since they're not in school? Since the announcement that she was undergoing preventative chemotherapy in March, Kate has mostly balanced her time between Adelaide Cottage, their home in Windsor, and Anmer Hall, their holiday home in Norfolk, which are around 125 miles apart. The Princess 42 also traveled the short distance to London for Trooping the Colour in June and to Wimbledon for the men's only singles final in July, both of which are an hour's drive from Windsor. But sources have confirmed to the Mail on Sunday that Kate will join her husband. Get it? Kate will join her husband and their 3 children north of the border this summer. Why not just say Kate and William will put the kids in the car or the helicopter, and Kate and William will travel to Balmoral for the summer, or for 3 or 4 days this summer. Her attendance will be seen by many as further reassurance that the princess is making good progress after her diagnosis. In June, she told the public in an emotional message she was not out of the woods yet and had good days and bad days, adding that her treatment would continue for a few more months. How many more months? Is this standard protocol with preventative chemotherapy? Beverly comments, "Oh, isn't this special? Princess Do-Nothing can't find the wherewithal to spend 20 to 30 minutes on Zoom uplifting and encouraging her favorite charities, but she will gather her strength to go to Balmoral." Now, we have heard rumor that what is going down at Balmoral is nothing short of a summit about how to deal with the Sussexes. Equality comments, "Most cancer patients have to stay near where they get their treatments. How nice for Kate and Charles that they can pick up and go anywhere during their supposed treatments. Of course, Kate will be there for the big summit about H&M. Would she miss the chance to plot against Meghan?" Smart and Messy adds, I don't think it's up to her if she joins the summit or any substantial conversation or decision-making. Still douches of Cambridge. Wow. She only knew a day in advance that she was going to be good enough to show up on Trooping and Wimbledon. But for Balmoral, she already knows well in advance that she's gonna be on a good day, which means she already got her docs okay to go. She's got the King's approval to go. Camilla vetoed the colours she'll be okay to wear, and bold Prince William also allowed for her to go and join him with the kids. And anyway, Kate never says no to a vacation proposal. Athena comments, "Is the H&M Summit now an annual event? This family can't even enjoy a family vacation and enjoy each other's company without making Harry and Meghan front and center of their existence. They must all be suffering from serious depression and maybe could use some medical intervention for their obsession with the Sussexes. Aquarius rightly comments, Kate is, quote, joining the kids. She doesn't have custody of the kids. She and William aren't both living with the kids. What does this verbiage actually mean? Right? The Duchess comments, they speak of her as if she's a complete separate entity from her own family. Kitty, you in danger, girl. Dee adds, she's joining the royal family and not joining the rest of the royal family, which sets her apart as well. The royal rota are getting in a dig. Shazbot comments, I think it was the fact that every other European royal house was well and enthusiastically represented at the opening ceremonies and had been present supporting their country, and Anne went to some horse events and a swimming event and wasn't at the opening, so most people just thought the Brits were not represented. So I think it was the media trying to push the Waleses to get out there and be photographed and bring the kids. Silly media. They're on vacation. Beanie Bean adds, which is so screwy, right? Most of the rest of us would consider going to Paris for a couple of weeks to attend the Olympics to be the vacation of a lifetime. Yet these people would call it work, no doubt. And they're not interrupting their summer vacation. Also, come on, Daily Mail, Kate and William don't decamp to Balmoral every summer. That suggests packing up loads of stuff for a good long stay. They go up for a long weekend, and that's about it. Could be every 2 or 3 years, in fact. Digital Unicorn adds, so she's going from one vacation spot to another, or should I say they are vacation spot hopping. Why aren't the press writing about none of the royal family are in Paris supporting our athletes who are doing quite well? I know Anne was supposed to have gone, but this could have been an opportunity to take the 2 older kids to some fun sporting events like gymnastics, swimming, etc., and to also show some support to the women. But what am I saying? These 2 have already told us they are not interested in supporting women's sports and female athletes. Nick 919 adds, Anne was there presenting medals for the equestrian team, and Sophie was there because she is patron of one of the sports. If these 2 show up just to watch, it will not look great, seeing as how England has race riots going on all over the shop, and no one has visited the families victimized in Southport. Digital Unicorn adds, I didn't know Anne and Sophie were there, and Starmer hasn't yet visited Southport yet. I think the royals turning up might only inflame things even more. However, they should at least send someone for the closing ceremony, which I am looking forward to. I was shocked at how quickly those riots escalated across England. Robinson tried to entice some trouble in Scotland, but Glasgow was like, nah. It's laughable that he's on holiday in Cyprus with his family, but yet is one of the main instigators, along with Lozzie Fox and Farage. Reform getting into power has given these thugs legitimacy, and Starmer has his work cut out for him to resort public order. It turns out that Starmer has, in fact, visited Southport. Bex1 adds, Anne was there for all of last week. She's Anne, so there's not a lot of coverage, but she visited the Olympic Village, etc. That said, you would think William would also try to attend a few events, but nothing. Amy B. clarifies, Anne's returned home and Sophie's there now. She'll be watching hockey and cycling. Laura D. makes a very interesting analysis. Lazarus is worried she's being forgotten, especially now Meghan is going to Colombia. Then, of course, there's also the Balmoral Summit, where her input will be vital to maintaining the stability of the House of Windsor. King Charles III and Lazarus can swap stories about how they had concerns about the color of health officials treating them. Then she'll have a brief reminiscence with Camilla about how they laughed over Meghan's baby bump, how Lazarus joining the rest of the family in Scotland is somehow big news, shows how little there is to say about her. Even allowing for her illness, the woman is just a shallow non-entity with a fancy title who does very little to endear herself to the British public. If it hadn't been for the internet conspiracy theorists, no one would have realized she was missing. And indeed, maybe that was exactly why the mystery was whipped up and encouraged. I mean, say what you will about toxic British media. They are, by turns, experts in how to manipulate mystery, racial animus, dangerous sentiments that can lead to violence and crime, which is what we're seeing across the UK and across all of these apps where raw footage is being shown to us as Americans. And it is an outrage, and it certainly can be credited to the casually, and I would say evilly racist attitudes among some people in the UK who are not people of color. It is just so comfortable and casual to ish upon people whose journey to living in the UK is different than their own, right? And I think another creator on the Clock app spoke very vehemently about how Black workers were brought to the UK after there were so many deaths of men after World War II, and that Indian fighters were crucial in achieving a victory for the UK in World War II. These are things I've never heard of before, but you have all of these people with very curious states of teeth. I thought that in America, we're taught that Europe and the UK have free healthcare, and everyone gets free healthcare, and they're just so healthy. And we get ished on, and everyone says that Americans are fat, as if Americans, and not Europeans, because Europeans have better food and better food standards, and they drive their little cars on the other side of the road, and they use the metric system, and they don't have food additives like we do. But boy, oh boy, some of the raw footage of the people protesting and talking about, I want my country back. It's frightening how very much they look like Americans and what we're accused of looking like in terms of teeth and girth, but also just how true believer these folks are, to the point of, getting arrested, and I think they're going to restrict them from going to soccer. Stakes are high apparently, but it is mind-bending that people have been whipped up into this state and nobody is saying, hey, economy is suffering, people can't get jobs, people are suffering. How about the British royal family hand back all the tax money they have siphoned out of the UK economy just to give it a stimulus, a little boost, right? Take a page out of Donald Trump's book, a little check in the mail, a little something for these people to look forward to, so they stop trying to stomp on, people who are brown or black and, throwing bricks through the window of hotels. It's really terrifying to watch, but, it does make me think, is this the shape of what is to come in the U.S.? Because we have people who are similarly emotional and true believers, and there is a moment of election choice. And this can be seen as a crisis to people who think that their guy might not be able to go the distance. Are we, And we saw MAGA hats in the crowds of, working class racist protesters in the UK, right? The kind of like camouflage and woodland pattern MAGA hats have somehow crossed the ocean, crossed the pond over there into the UK. So a lot of these same points about it's our country and they don't belong, right? It I guess there isn't a kind of indigenous or native population, or is there, in the UK and all the different parts of the UK? We know what the colonial history is, and it's shameful that people don't acknowledge how these other lands were exploited and it became a commonwealth. So that means that you should have the right to migrate from one part of the UK to the other, right? Migrate is different than immigrate. It's not a different country because it's all part of the Commonwealth. Correct me if I'm wrong. But in any case, hypocrisy adds, yes, the Balmoral Summit, because in the British royal family, no one is ever too sick or too cancer-ridden not to hate and make a big public and media production of it. Now would be a perfect time to suspend their racist hate campaign against the Sussexes. It's destroying their country. Look at how all the racist hate they allowed to be spewed at Duchess Meghan spilled over onto everyone and is running wild now and rioting in the streets of several different cities across the UK. A country led by a racist, hateful king is being destroyed by that very same racist hatred. And I guess the royal family doesn't care about the hypocrisy, doesn't care about the self-martyrdom, right? Being carried across all of the UK, as long as the racism and the white supremacy holds the royal family aloft. How long will that last? How long can it last? The violence against women is, to me, the crux of a lot of this stuff, right? There was some man that unalived 3 women who were white in the UK weeks and perhaps months before this Christian of African descent unalived 3 young girls at a Taylor Swift themed dance class and injured several more people, right? We've got white man victimizing white women. Then we have black Christian man victimizing children of varying national origin. But the Christian somehow got transmuted in the scuttlebutt and rumor into being an immigrant of Muslim descent, and that was what kicked off all of these different riots around the country. Again, we're Americans. We're trying to digest this at a distance. And yes, the way this is worded, Kate will join her husband and children, makes it sound like she's traveling separately from a separate location. Is she with Pippa at her family's house? Is she with her brother James at his family's house? Buckleberry, we hear, is being rented out for cash, for cold hard cash. So where is it that Kate's coming from? Is it Adelaide Cottage, where there was a back house being built out specifically for her medical care? Is this all just storytelling? Maybe she's just going for a long weekend and William is taking the kids for an extended stay, like Charles used to do when he had custody of his boys. Nick 919 says, the press knows what's really going on and love to play these games. It's not a story if she goes to Balmoral or not. The UK has way more serious issues going on at the moment, and it does feel like this Balmoral travel is a distraction, right, to what is very real and very hard and very earnest in the streets. The Duchess comments, yep, They know full well the Wales family is more fractured than a set of used fine china. This is just their way of getting their shots across. It must be Baldy's turn to have the kids during the summer holidays this year. Christine comments, I think very smartly, Craig and William definitely don't want the scrutiny of the world's media by going to the Olympics. They would have to pretend to like each other in front of a literal wall of cameras. Girl Ninja wonders, she's such an outsider. What a sad life. I wonder if they're actively turning her children against her. JS adds October, November, December. She'll make an appearance at some point. The papers will react in a weird and sycophantic way, insulting cancer patients everywhere, while propping up the princess. The usual, rinse and repeat. Lau adds, we probably won't see her before Remembrance Day, but she'll reappear there because she needs to cosplay Megan. Prepare yourself for the too long trousers in a neutral shade. Lulu remarks, this is big news? Hardly. This is just the Daily Mail creating a story out of nothing whatsoever. There is literally nothing stopping Kate from going to Balmoral. She will take whatever medical people are needed. Her staff of 66 will do her and the rest of the family's packing, and she will travel by helicopter. It is rather dreary to go all the way up to Scotland and then go on vacation with Camilla the Stallion. The level of self-editing and self-control and pretense you have to engage in to hang out with someone who probably knows how to push your buttons and has wronged you in the past. And there's always the threat of her leaking whatever you do, whatever you say to the press. It just has to be stomach churning, right? Those kinds of nerve-wracking days and nights and trips and experiences could not be an enhancement to health, right? It's very stressful. And the only thing, I think those of us who've traveled and vacationed with difficult family members, we know the only escape is a little wine, a little beer, a little champagne, whatever you can get your hands on to make the medicine go down, right? Never mind if you have cancer, preventative or otherwise treatment. You just know as you're journeying there how awful certain people are gonna be, right? It was easier when, and it is easier when you can, kick dirt at Harry and Meghan if they're there, if they're not there, right? That sport at least distracts people from kicking it on to you. But wow, so many words and so many articles about this trip to Balmoral, and it is said like Kate is an outsider journeying into the royal family. They're not talking about her and her joining this trip as if the royal family is something that she's part of, right? It's very interesting. It definitely looks like Sophie of Wessex has been tipped to step in while Catherine is out of action, right? We have this article in the Mirror where King Charles says a key royal family member has stepped up to support him during his cancer battle, right? 5th of August, 2024. As King Charles relies on other working royals to step in for his duties while he is undergoing cancer treatment, one family member has been seen stepping up to help him manage the burden. Duchess of Edinburgh, Sophie Wessex. Sophie officially became part of the firm 25 years ago when she tied the knot with Queen Elizabeth II's youngest son, the Duke of Edinburgh. In recent years, Sophie has been spotted dedicating more time to high-profile engagements, including attending the sovereign's garden party at the Palace of Holyrood House in Edinburgh, hosted by King Charles and Queen Camilla last month. With her increasing presence, former BBC royal correspondent Jenny Bond shared with OK her predictions for Sophie's future role. I think we can expect Sophie to keep up or even increase her workload as the key member of the royal family she now is. She has really come into her own in recent years and is now rightly getting the recognition she deserves. However, Jenny pointed out that Sophie still has her own family to consider, which could impact her royal duties, adding, she still has her own family to consider, her 93-year-old father and her children, now 20 and 16, but she seems to be devoting more and more time to high-profile royal engagements. I think she is also much admired for carrying out overseas tours, often highlighting extremely difficult subjects such as violence against women in conflict zones without very much attendant publicity. The king relies heavily on the small band of working royals he has around him, particularly since his cancer diagnosis and with Catherine out of action. This, I think, has brought him closer than ever to his youngest brother and Sophie. I think Charles will always be grateful for the huge support and affection Sophie gave to his mother, the late Queen, who came to regard her as another daughter. In spite of the Princess of Wales being out of action, she has managed to perform 2 significant public appearances since announcing her chemotherapy treatment. Blah, blah, blah. We know that. Wimbledon and trooping. And that's the end of the article. But the question is, at this point in time, have either Charles or the Prince of Wales, William, made any sort of statement on the riots? Question has to be, at this point in time, have either King Charles or Prince William made any sort of statement on the race riots gripping the UK at all? Wouldn't great leaders be trying to quell unrest and inspire people to stop race-motivated crime? I certainly haven't seen anything. They should be inspirational. They should be condemning the riots. They should be condemning racism. But we know the philosophies that they embrace. We know the racism that they've employed even against their other family members. Meghan Markle being one of several. And indeed, they may feel it would look hypocritical if they tried to preach about race after having made huge racist remarks and huge mistakes themselves. William and Kate are rumored to be away on Caribbean vacations. Not vacations singular, vacations plural, as in 2 separate vacations. William and Kate usually take 5 to 6 overseas vacations a year. It used to be more when the Queen was still alive. If England is so great, and if Paris is so great, why don't they vacation there? You know, there's all this talk of Scotland and going to Balmoral, but maybe that's a mislead because it doesn't explain where they've been and how come every time they turn up, they're tan. Kate has color. William certainly has more color than he normally does. And it's never explained, and it doesn't look like makeup. It doesn't look Donald Trump orange. It doesn't look like it's out of a bottle. It seems like the press don't report on Kate and William's vacations like they used to anymore because of how often they go and the crushing enormity of their sheer laziness. Katie Nichol point blank said on the Royal Beat, the reason Kate heads to Anmer each time the kids get out of school is because it's easier for her to jet off to Mustique without anyone knowing. Remember a couple of years ago, right around the end of COVID, they went on all those foreign holidays? people couldn't even travel and get to their families who were being unalived or who had been unalived from the global panini, and William and Kate were jetting all over the damn globe. They weren't reported on when they went, but somehow it was revealed they had gone after the fact. In 2020, right? This is on the heels of Harry and Meghan escaping, first to Canada and then to California. In 2020, Kate went skiing in France at the beginning of the year, then took another holiday with the kids, then jetted off to Mustique a couple of months later. She then literally disappeared for over 2 months, doing absolutely nothing. And who knows what, probably on another foreign holiday. Then they jetted off to the Isles of Scilly, and a mere 8 weeks later, they were vacationing in Jordan. They released the Jordan pictures, and of course, right after that, Kate's numbers were literally in the toilet until it came time for her to do the All About Me Christmas special. And they have the nerve to call Meghan Markle me again. Please tell me where in that calendar, where in the calendar of 2022, 2023, and certainly 2024, the serving the public events happened. The Zoom calls with the charities, and how it somehow punctuated this thick calendar of luxury, glamorous, boring vacations. These two lazy frauds took 4 known foreign holiday vacations. Those are just the ones we've heard about in the span of 7 to 8 months. Several other weeks in between and after went by with them doing absolutely nothing. No public work, especially Kate. And then during that time of being gone, they have the press slow releasing pics and stupid articles that say nothing to keep them in the news cycle as if the lazy frauds are doing something. That's why when Kate disappeared and the press went silent on her, everyone knew something was up because there was nothing to feed into the news cycle. And maybe that's why pictures and videos and body double appearances were created, produced, digitally enhanced, so that there would be something. These two worthless people are supposed to be the future king and queen, and they can't even be bothered to show up once a week for an hour. It's literally disgusting how much money they are siphoning out of the public purse to do nothing. Prince William collects over £25 million from the Duchy of Cornwall, tax-free. And millions more he takes from the hard-working people to do absolutely nothing. He refuses to release a breakdown of the duchy taxes because he's a fraud. He isn't paying taxes. They're claiming he is, but let us see. But I'm sure there's things in those taxes he doesn't want us to know about. Payoffs, separate residences, perhaps the Middletons on the payroll in one way or another. William flies around in his helicopter and private jet like it's an Uber, back and forth from his multiple palaces and estates and many vacations, all the while preaching how he's going to solve the Middle East and solve homelessness, and preaches about the environment and, reducing your carbon footprint when he is doing nothing to reduce his. Kate literally sits around doing absolutely nothing. 66 to 90 staff members. Some would say she's been worthless since even before her marriage to William. And you can't argue against it because it just seems so very clear, so very outrageous, so very obscene, given what is going on in the UK right here and right now, with so many people struggling, so many people having actual danger in their front yard, on the street right in front of their homes, people throwing things through their homes into their places of worship, into their houses of worship. Kate literally sat around after her marriage to William. Once they got hold of the Anmer Hall estate, there were millions spent for the first couple of years installing a new pool, ripping out a brand new kitchen to replace it with another. Kate literally ripped apart a £1 million tennis court to move it over 36 feet. Then they turned around and moved into Kensington Palace, in which they were supposed to start working. And that's when Meghan Markle entered the scene, right? 2017, 2018. And William and Kate still refused to work. But it didn't stop them from pouring millions more into Kensington Palace. Over £5 million that we know of. And they still continue to throw tax pounds into it. William literally buying thousands of expensive hedges to try and block the view of the helipad. Kate's outrageous spending on her wardrobe is ridiculous when her work numbers are abysmal versus that of Princess Anne, versus that of even Queen Consort Camilla. The amount she spends on clothes alone is quadruple, plus more than what some people even can make in a year working overtime. Some UK folks say that Kate and William are selfish, entitled, greedy, and self-serving, racist, narcissistic, and evil. They can care less about the people in their country, in their commonwealth. The least these two could do is show up once a week for a few hours and help encourage people that are suffering, people that are less fortunate than them. But they refuse to do any of that. They would rather lie and sneak in and out of the country, spend tax pounds on bots and bot farms that attack our posts on American social media, initiate hate campaigns that are still ongoing in the toxic British media, not only to hurt Harry and Meghan, but there are stories in these same red-topped newspapers attacking migrants and immigrants and people of color casually, building in racial animus, and we see how it's been like a match was struck. Riots and fires all across the UK. And who does it serve? Now we're fed this silly story about Kate joining the royal family for a holiday in Scotland. So what? People are losing their lives, they're losing their homes, their businesses, their inventory to these riots. And the royal family, Kate, William, King Charles, Camilla, none of them were supposed to care that they're wearing outfits and going to garden parties and the Olympics. There is a crisis, a race riot, war happening in the streets of the UK. And I can only wonder, as an American, is it the shape of things to come in the US as we barrel forth to our own elections, right? People are trying to cast doubt on the capability of the newly elected prime minister and clucking their tongues and saying, oh, well, he'd better get to work and sort it out. In the middle of all of this shameful, uneven distribution of taxpayer money, uneven distribution of wealth and opportunity. And now somehow, days and weeks into his prime ministerial reign, is that how you say it? He's supposed to fix it. Fix the lack of jobs and wages and opportunities. Because I would guarantee you, if everyone in the UK, brown, black, white, otherwise, felt like they had job opportunity, upward mobility, access to education and housing, and my God, if they could all get their teeth fixed or even just maintain dental health. What I saw in the footage on the Clock app is an outrage that grown-ups who are not even that old have their teeth in such a state. What is going on? Does all these calls about William's human rights, I think having healthy teeth is a human right. What is going on in the UK? Y'all need to get it sorted. But I think where Kate Middleton and Prince William R. for holiday is the very least of anyone's concern, because there is a serious loss of life and public safety to the point where several countries have declared the United Kingdom as a don't go over there, a no travel zone. Malaysia, Colombia, Nigeria, and the list of countries warning their citizens not to step foot over there is growing. And yet, the royal family can't step up and cool the tempers and cool the flames. It's embarrassing, it's a shame, and let me know what you think, stars.